Hello, everyone. So I'm going to tell you very briefly about Tinybird before I go into a demo. So Tinybird is data, infrastructure, and tools for software teams. That's how I usually describe it. But I have been contractually obligated by Megan to include the words AI agents at the beginning of my presentation. But in all seriousness, we are data infrastructure for software teams, but software teams are changing how they work. And a lot of what we're doing in our data infrastructure and tooling is making sure that we build infrastructure and tools that don't get in the way of developers. Development is going faster and faster every day. Smaller teams with much more power to do development work, and we want to basically give them the tools to work with data that don't get in the way and allow them to go super fast. Essentially, we help software developers to build and scale real-time analytical data projects. I would normally go and explain exactly, that we're a columnar database, that we use ClickHouse under the hood, that we do a bunch of things. But just for those that are familiar with databases, if you're familiar, for instance, with Supabase, Supabase is to Postgres what Tinybird is to ClickHouse. We essentially make it super easy to work over ClickHouse at scale for developers and agents. So the idea is that you can go from idea to MVP in minutes, and our developer experience now is very AI friendly and very we rethought it from scratch to use AI to help go much faster. So literally, you can install Tinybird locally, log into Tinybird, start your local environment, and with a prompt, start building. And then once you have your MVP, you can then scale to billions just by deploying to production to our data cloud. So these are some of the amazing companies that power their analytics with Tinybird, and this scales to billions of rows. Companies like Vercel or Canva or FanDuel or some of those amazing companies. But we were here to talk about Tinybird AI. So we were also on a launch week. I think like 700 companies had launch weeks this last week of June, and we were one of them. And we launched a bunch of things this week around AI. First one is our remote MCPs. So essentially, in Tinybird, you have your own workspace, and now your workspace is an MCP. And very similar to what you guys were saying, with Tinybird, you can create APIs and query lambdas that you can run based on SQL. So those get exposed as tools. Plus, we add a set of tools that allow you, that have been fine-tuned to work with data, because as Ethan will explain later from Vercel, LLMs are not great working with billions of rows, and tabular data. So we've had to fine-tune the experience a lot, as you'll see in a second. We also launched analytical agents and templates called Birdwatcher that you can run. They can run as sort of ambient agents on the background doing stuff for you, figuring out what's going on with your data. Or you can be conversational agents. You can put them on Slack or wherever you want. And finally, Explorations, which is a natural language exploratory data analysis UI to help you understand what's going on with your data. And I'm going to do a demo here. So let me show you first a quick web application here. This is a web application that it's a logs explorer. This is one of our templates that we have for people, open source, people to start working with Tinybird. As you can see here, this has been ingesting logs. You can go and filter, so production logs, and maybe I'm interested in, just errors, and this will filter out. And then if I put the network on, every time I'm doing a filter, this is executing queries against API calls against Tinybird. So these are the APIs that you generate as part of your project that are like query lambdas based on SQL. And this can work over huge amounts of data. So if I go back 6 months, you'll see, I'm going to clear out the filters here. So this is filtering over several hundred millions of rows. So it's very, very snappy and very powerful. So what this essentially looks like is, if I go here to this project's Tinybird workspace, you can see here, I have a bunch of data sources, the logs, and then some materialized views. I also have endpoints here, so these are the ones that are powering that dashboard. And I also have observability at the top here. You can see that CPU time, QPSs. We've been ingesting some rows for the demo earlier, so we ingested a few million rows. And essentially, you have everything you need to manage your data project. And you don't necessarily be a database expert. As a developer, you can work with Tinybird very quickly. And now, essentially, let's look at exploration. So if I come here to explorations, I'm going to create a new one. So this is, again, working with the same set of data. So I can go and say, give me, well, let me just copy it so you don't have to see me type, which is very painful. So I had like a prompt here. Give me a distribution of logs that have been ingested over the last 7 days. So what this is going to go and do is using our MCP, the same one that it's available for your workspaces. It's going to go and try to understand the resources in the server and in the workspace. So first, it tells you all the queries that it's doing. It's counting the logs. Then it's breaking them out by the different fields in the service. And then finally, when it's understood it, it creates a SQL query here, and then a time series visualization. So, sorry, I'm going to change this to a bar. And then it's gone ahead and decided that, it can do some more things here. And then it gives you all the analysis on the left-hand side. And because I've said like a general question is doing like, it's just trying to investigate and figure it all out. You can then change your SQL queries here. So if you know what you're doing, you can obviously come here, change the query, do whatever you want. But I can continue doing, do the same, but only over the last 48 hours with error only and production environment. So it will go ahead and then apply those filters, do all of those things, and so on. So pretty cool stuff. And this is basically something that is essentially available on the MCP. So you can build your own agents that use this MCP. And one very interesting thing is that normally, if you're a SaaS application, you'll be capturing data from multiple different customers. Hopefully, you're very successful, thousands of them. And what the MCP uses the same security that the APIs use. That means that the tokens that you can generate can be filtered by a specific user. You can use JWTs to generate one token per customer. And then the MCP will only return data relative to, that it has access with that token. So you could build stuff with Tinybird and then expose an MCP for your customers to use directly if you want it with their token. So that's pretty cool. And then just finally, just to show you a little bit what this looks like. So this is essentially, I have the project locally. So if I open up in Cursor, you can see here that you can have all the stuff as code, all the schemas, all the queries, everything. And then, so this would be the SQL with parameters, like the log analysis. So we use a template. I don't know if you can see it very well. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. And then you can work locally with our CLI. And I can, here I was just testing locally earlier, so counting how many, I have a few thousand logs. But here you can also use AI to create stuff. So I can say prompt, build a performance endpoint that analyzes response times. And then this is going to go ahead, and then you'll see in a second that it understands Tinybird really, really well. So it's going to go and do whatever it needs to do. And in a second, we should have here a new endpoint that you can then just deploy to production and so on. So I'm going to, there you go. So you'll see here performance analysis is created a new endpoint. It's checked that everything is correct. So I'm not going to test it, but all it would take, assuming everything is working locally perfect, all I would have to do to put it in production is just do following. I do this from I was like in an npm run dev type of environment. So here I can just say tb cloud deploy, and it's going to check, what are the changes that I've just done, and if everything matches, it's going to put it in production, and that's it. You have a new API in production that you can start using against your data, and that's it. Pretty amazing. That wasn't magic, but hopefully good enough.